Okay, so before we listen to today's episode, I just wanted to let you know that this episode is about the PMP exam and the changes that are coming. So if you have already taken the PMP exam and there is nobody in your life who could benefit from this knowledge, then feel free to skip this episode. Now, if you are thinking about taking the PMP exam soon, or if you know someone, either through a professional connection or a personal connection, who is thinking of taking the PMP exam, please stay tuned. There is a coupon code for a discount on this product that I used to pass my PMP exam, which is by far the best thing out there to help you prepare. So stay tuned. Visit today's episode right now at pmforthemasses.com. And for a coupon code, you can go to pmforthemasses.com/PMP for this coupon code. It is good from now until the end of December. So take this as a Black Friday special. So without any further ado, let's get started.
Project managers, have you ever felt like you should get that promotion or a better job? Start a business, write that book. Have you ever felt you were made for more but didn't know where to start?
Welcome to the PM for the Masses podcast with your host, Cesar, Abeid.
Learn from the experts, think outside the box, have a voice, network, and be extraordinary.
PM for the Masses podcast.
Well, hello everybody and welcome once again. My name is Cesar Abeid, your host, and this show is your regular reminder that your career matters more than your job and that your life is a project and you are the manager. Whether you work for a company or for yourself, your job stability is really just your ability to land your next gig. So, join me in practicing intentional, planned, and value-adding relevance, starting right now. And today we're going to talk about the PMP exam, and I have on the line my fellow podcaster Cornelius Fichtner to talk about the upcoming changes to the PMP exam and how to be ready for them. Cornelius Fichtner PMP has been working as a project manager in his native Switzerland, in Germany, and in the USA for the last 18 years plus now, and received his PMP credential in April 2004. He has led projects for a financial services provider, a management consulting company, a national retailer, and an internet startup company. Currently, Cornelius helps project managers to stay on top of the industry with his free project management podcast and helps them pass the PMP exam with the PM Prepcast, which is what I used to pass my PMP exam back in 2010. His passions are project management methodologies and PMO. And Cornelius was the 2007 chair of the Project Management Institute Orange County chapter. And he's on the line with me today from his home in Tucson, Arizona. Hello, Cornelius. How are you?
Hello, Cesar. I'm doing well. Thank you very much for having me.
Yes. You were in one of the first podcasts that I ever subscribed to back in, I don't know even when, before it was cool.
I started in 2005.
Oh, wow. That was before the iPhone.
That was all for the iPod back then.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. And you still have the same soothing, fantastic voice that you had back then. So
Thank you. My accent has kind of gone out the window.
That is
back
true.
then. I really had a very lovely British accent, but I've lived in the United States now for almost 17 years, and so it's a curse and a blessing.
That's true.
When you can assimilate your accent. So when I was in England, I got this really nice British accent, and now, it's more Americanized. So it is what it is.
It just polished around the edges a little more. It's not as, but I have the same situation because in fact, my wife jokes that, I'm losing my accent. She's going to send me back to Brazil for a year to get it back because, it's not what she didn't sign up for this. She wanted the accent, but okay. So, so I'm sure everybody listening right now, if you subscribe to my podcast, I'm sure you have subscribed or have, bumped into the PM podcast. How can you not subscribe to the Project Management Podcast with Cornelius Fichtner? So, first of all, go and subscribe. It is the best podcast in the industry, bar none. And
thank you.
We all look up to you, Cornelius, and you're an inspiration to everybody. So thanks for being here. It's always great talking to you. All right, so let's jump right in. the PMP exam is changing. And if you're already taken the PMP exam, then this doesn't matter to you. Can probably skip to the next episode. But if you're in the process of getting your certification, this is probably a little freaky because you've been studying and things are about to change. So how is the exam changing exactly?
Right. Allow me to start with a different question. Why is it changing? Because that's important. It is changing because our jobs as project managers have changed. PMI regularly does surveys and analyses of what is it that a project manager actually does about every 3 to 5 years. And in 2015, they did an analysis about this. And this is how the current PMP exam was designed based on the findings back then. 5 years later, they're doing this again and, they're finding new things, new tasks, new responsibilities. And that is why PMI has now gone ahead and they have developed, and that is the how, they have developed a new exam content outline. Many people believe that the PMP exam is, it's the PMBOK guide, and nothing but the PMBOK guide, and nothing could be further from the truth. The PMP exam is not testing your understanding or your knowledge of the PMBOK guide. Instead, PMI has what is known as the exam content outline. That is about a 20, 30 page long document that explains what it is that you will be tested on the exam. And in that document, there are tasks and domains. And in the new one now, there are also enablers that talk about, what is it that you should know as a project management professional? And that's what PMI bases its questions on. And now and this is where the PMBOK guide comes into play. Every question on the exam from PMI has 2 academic references. So they make sure that, they check 2 academic references to say, A is correct. Yes, A is correct because this academic reference says so, and A is correct because this second academic reference also says so. And very often, PMI, of course, uses the PMBOK guide as one of these 2 academic references. Now, we have a current exam content outline, 2015, and we have a new exam content outline, 2019. That's the one that's coming into effect in 1st of July, 2020. And the big difference here is that in the current exam content outline, there are 5 domains. Those are the traditional domains that everybody is aware of: initiating, planning, executing, monitoring and controlling, and closing. Those are 5 domains. And in the new exam content outline, there are only 3 domains: people, process, and business environment. And that is a massive change. In addition to that, PMI has also said that we're not just changing the domains. In the future, 50% of the PMP exam will be on traditional waterfall-based project management methods, but the other 50% is going to be agile and hybrid.
Okay. So a side question, what happens to the agile certification? Is that...
that will remain the same.
Okay.
That will remain the same, yes. So the PMI ACP exam is going to be the practitioner's exam. So when you take the PMI ACP exam, PMI expects you to have lots and lots of hands-on experience, whereas in the PMP exam, they expect you to know about Agile and maybe have experienced it once or twice. But it is going to be a little less hands-on. And I've been told by the PMI certifications team that, in the future, they will also expect PMPs to have more Agile experience and hybrid experience as well. Of course, then there is the question of, traditional project management isn't going away. Many people work in construction and maybe healthcare or aerospace. And many of those projects and programs there are still traditional, waterfall-based, plan-driven. You do a lot of planning up front, right? And many project managers may really not see, much exposure to agile and hybrid methods there. So, they have to find a balance where they take the PMP exam into the 21st century, so to speak, which means, as a PMP, you will meet agile, you will meet hybrid, but at the same time, they can't make it too big because there are project managers out there who simply don't, live in that space.
Right. Now, as far as the PMBOK guide, is that changing to mirror this new approach?
No.
Okay.
Again, the PMP exam is not a test of the PMBOK guide. It's just a reference document. And the PMBOK guide is not changing. The current PMBOK guide is the 6th edition. It came out in, 2017? December 31st, 2017. I think, now don't quote me on that. Let's see. I have it right here. What does it say? When was it published? I think it was 2017.
Okay.
Somewhere it should say so. 2017, yes.
Oh, you're right.
So December 31st, 2017, it was published, I think, around that, or September, something like that. And the PMBOK Guide 6th edition is not going to change until about 2021. Potentially even 2022. PMI is in the middle of developing the 7th edition. So on July 1st, 2020, or let's go a day earlier. So until the 30th of June, 2020, if you are preparing for the PMP exam, look at the current PMP exam content outline, the one that was published in 2015, and use the PMBOK Guide 6th edition as you are studying. Starting from the 1st of July. So if you know today, well, I'm not going to take my exam before the 30th of June. I'm going to take it on the 1st of July 2020 or later. If you do that, if that is your plan, then get your hands on the new exam content outline. That's the one that only has 3 domains, people, process, and business environment, and still use the PMBOK Guide 6th edition as the book of reference.
Now, let's say your niece is looking into getting her PMP certification and she asks you, should I do it now or should I wait until July? What would you tell her?
Okay, well, let me answer that with a question. Today, the PMP exam focuses solely on traditional waterfall-based projects and methodologies. The new exam will include agile and hybrid as well. We're basically doubling the content of the PMP exam. So do it now, you have 100%. Do it later, you'll have, okay, let's just pick a number, 200% content. So you have to know massively more right there. Let's see. In fact, there are a number of consequences of this new exam. Consequence number 1, the new PMP exam is bigger, right? There is quite a lot of content that PMI has added. My analysis shows that about 70% of the current exam, what we have today, is contained within the process domain, and that the other 2 domains, the people and the business environment domain, they contain largely new content. So it's much bigger. Consequence 2, agile is a must. You must know about agile. You have to read the agile practice guide that comes with the PMBOK guide going forward. And as I said, you don't necessarily need to have too much experience, but the more you have, the better, obviously. Consequence 3, well, the new PMP exam will be harder because PMI will be able to ask questions from so many more areas, right? And consequence number 4, the 35 contact hours that you need today, you need training in project management, and at a minimum, you need 35. That is truly going to be the absolute minimum, right? Today, you can scrape by with about 35 hours of training in general project management practices. But, with the new exam, you need to have business understanding. You need to have strategic understanding. You need to know about agile. You need to know about hybrid. So all of that is going to be added on top of what you need to know today already. So, yeah, if you're thinking about taking the exam, make sure that you take it before it changes. In fact, make sure you take it not before July 1st. Make sure you take it before May 1st. So the latest that you should try and take your exam is April 30th, 2020, because I promise you, once May comes along, there is going to be a mad rush. And everyone and their niece, as in your case, is going to want to take that exam before it changes. So it is going to spike tremendously.
And not to mention, let's say you take the exam on June 30th and you fail.
Oh, yeah.
Then you have to take it again. It's going to be the new one.
Exactly.
So
yes.
You don't want to risk that.
There is only one exception to that rule. If you take your exam on June 30th and the computer at the exam testing center on which you take the exam crashes, then PMI will allow you to retake the old exam even after July 1st. But that's the only the only exception that I've ever heard of. If there is a hardware failure at the exam center, you may be allowed to retake the old exam. But otherwise, you're taking the new exam. There's no exception to that. Yeah.
It's really impressive you know that bit of information. I knew. You're the right person to have on to talk about that for sure. Okay, so all right. So the message is clear. So the recommendation is, if you're thinking about getting it, and if let's say you've started to prepare, but you think you need a year to prepare. I did not need a year to prepare for the PMP exam. I think I started preparing in January, and I took the exam in May, about 5 months.
Yeah, that sounds about right, yeah.
Yeah, and so that's doable. So if you start right now, there's no reason why you should not be able to take the exam before May, and then be done with that. Otherwise, you will. It seems to me that it's, even right now, the PMP exam is not a test of knowledge of the PMBOK guide. But, I always say that if you understand the PMBOK guide, not just memorize it, but you understand how it's organized and you understand all the information that's in it, you could potentially pass the exam just by using your brains and your experience. But with the new setup, it sounds like that won't be the case, right? You're going to have to know, let's say, for example, the agile part or the the business acumen. That will have to come from training and from life experience. Okay.
Yes. Even today, many of the questions on the exam asks things like, what should the project manager do next? Right? So they give you a scenario of what's going on in the project. What should you be doing next? Okay. Or they show you a scenario where something went wrong, and the question is, what could the project manager have done to avoid this situation? Okay. So there is a lot of experience that they expect from you as you are taking the exam. And the second thing to realize is you're looking at the scenario, you're looking at the question that you're supposed to answer, then you're looking at the 4 answers and you think, they all look the same. Each of these questions is giving me exactly the same answer. They're just minutely different. Right? So very vague sometimes. And many people actually say this is the most frustrating thing about the PMP exam, that sometimes even the question and the scenarios are way vague, and there's information lacking, and you have to extrapolate. And so taking the PMP exam, purely after reading the PMBOK guide without having solid experience, having done it many times over the course of about 3 to 5 years, really managed and led a project, and you've run into walls and you've stumbled and you fell and you learned from it and you recovered and you did it better next time. So all of that will actually help you pass the PMP exam. Sure, there are stories out there where people say, oh, I signed up for the PMP exam, I got accepted, I read halfway through the PMBOK guide, I couldn't take it, went to take the exam and passed with flying colors. Yes, there are definitely situations and people out there where this has happened. And then there is the other side. I've had a student at one point, he has invested time and time and time. He's taken several courses. He's watched all my lessons. He's used 2 exam simulators. He failed 3 times, and he then got in touch with PMI. He showed them all the work he's put in, and they granted him a 4th attempt, and very exceptional. I've only heard this once, and he was able to pass on his 4th attempt after about 1.5 years of really working very, very hard. Okay? So those are the 2 extremes. But generally speaking, as you are prepping for the exam, it is going to take you roughly 12 to 18 weeks, of solid preparation.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of preparing, people might know that you make available the PM Prepcast, and it is the best preparation course for the PMP exam. Not just the value alone, just the dollar amount compared to like a boot camp that people take. Sometimes the companies pay for it. It's just can't even compare. And then the actual content is just fantastic. And Cornelius, every once in a while, I look back at some of the videos there to kind of refresh my memory about this or that and the other, about some of the principles of project management. So the PM Prepcast is, and because I'm in podcasting and I have my name out there, people connect with me on LinkedIn all the time and ask me, I'm trying to pass the PMP exam, or they contact me through pmforthemasses.com, and I have a pre-def on my text expander. I don't know if you're familiar with that with that piece of software. Text expander is something you install on your Mac. I think I have for Windows now too, and you can create a little snippet that you just type whatever. You create like in my case like semicolon PMP, and then it substitutes that text by a paragraph that you pre-write.
Yes.
So I have one in which I recommend the PM Prepcast because I get asked the question so often, and there is only one answer. So, is the PM Prepcast adapting to this new change?
I'm sorry, would you please repeat the question?
Yes, I was asking if the PM Prepcast is adapting to this new change, and how is that going to work?
Yes, the PM Prepcast is indeed adapting. Now, I have to go back to my earlier statement saying, the 35 hours of training, that's going to be the minimum. The PM Prepcast is over 60 hours in duration, right? So even today's Prepcast is longer than the 35 hours that you need as a minimum, because there is so much that you need to know for the PMP exam. It's like, a mile wide, but only an inch deep, but you need to know, a lot about, that inch. And what we have done is we have compared the Prepcast to the new exam content outline. And I have identified 2 topics, which I cannot think of off the top of my head right now, that are new. Oh, yeah. Personality indicators is new. And there was something else in the business and strategic side. So there are really only 2 topics that are new, that we do not cover at all in the Prepcast. So we are going to be adding a couple more lessons there on those 2 topics, bringing it, from 66 to, 66 and a half hours. And of course, because Agile and Hybrid is also going to be included. We are going to do, we're agile, right? Minimum viable product and deliver value instead of administration. We decided that the best way to actually teach people about agile is to take our PMI ACP exam prep course, look through what is really important. What do you really need to know out of all of this agile, and add that as an additional module to the prep course. So that's going to be another 5 to 7 hours of agile and hybrid project management training that you will get there. Otherwise, and this is, this shows me what a great job the team has done as we developed the Prepcast, because we didn't just use the PMBOK guide. We went outside as well. We brought other concepts in. And now that, PMI is really getting away from the matching domains of the PMBOK guide and the exam content outline, we're looking at this going, we've got all of this already covered, right? So we were maybe a step or two ahead of PMI back then when we included all these additional topics into the Prepcast. But the Prepcast is not everything. If you're planning on taking the PMP exam, 5-6 years ago, I would have said, yeah, so what you really need is you need the training, you need to understand the theory, you need to have the experience, and a few formulas, and then you're pretty much ready to go, take a few sample exams and all that. Today, I'd say once you have all your training under your belt, you have to have an exam simulator. The exam has gotten a lot more complex and hard and difficult and vague. Without having access to a really good exam simulator, you're going to be really having a hard time passing this exam. And so, of course, we have to update our exam simulator as well. And, just to show you how much work this is, we currently have 8 exams, each 200 questions. And the new PMP exam is going to have 50% of the questions on the exam agile and hybrid. Today, 0.
Yeah.
So that means our exam simulator, 1,600 questions, has about 0% agile questions in it. Not actually that way. We have about 1% of agile questions. We did add a few in there just, to be a little bit diverse at least. But to us, that means before July 1st of next year, we have to develop 800 new questions that are asking you about agile and hybrid topics in preparation for the PMP exam.
If someone buys the Prepcast today, do they have access to these changes later on, or how does that work?
Yes. So the rule is quite simple. If you have the Project Management Prepcast 6th edition, we usually name it based on the PMBOK guide, just to make it easier for people to follow along. So if you have the 6th edition and you have not yet passed your exam, then you automatically get updated to the Prepcast 6.1. So 6.0 is the current exam, and we call the new exam 6.1. Just for numerical, the keeping it numerically is separate. Okay,
right.
And the reason for this is simple. Once you pass the exam, you don't need another PMP exam prep course, right? You're done. Move on. Do something new. Learn something new. Go for prints. Take an agile exam. Do something else. Don't go back and rewatch PMP exam prep courses. That doesn't make sense.
Right.
So yes, if you are preparing for the PMP exam and you haven't yet passed and you have purchased the 6th edition, you will get 6.1. And in fact, you won't even notice that it's 6.1 because we are updating it in place. So around April of 2020, the new lessons, they will simply appear. And suddenly, there will be a module with agile topics, and suddenly there will be 2 new lessons on these 2 topics that I mentioned that we identified we don't cover yet. And so, the rest will be exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
And in regards to the exam simulator, it is very similar. We are going to be updating the exam simulator. So we have 6.0, which is today, and then 6.1, which is the new one. And those students who have an active subscription to our exam simulator on June 30th of next year will automatically receive 90 days in the new exam simulator 6.1.
That sounds very reasonable to me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't see why we should ask you to pay more.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is this, then occasionally I get customers who say, I bought your product in the 14th century. I never used it. I demand that you give me access to the current version. And I'm like, really? Do you understand how much work we're putting into this?
Right.
And people are mean and feel that just because, this is an online service, that they should be receiving this for free. I always try to explain to them, look, if you buy a book and the author puts out a second and a third and a fourth edition, would you expect the author to just give you the new edition of the book? No, you wouldn't. You would expect to have to buy it. It's the same with this. Just to show you what the monetary investment is. Mm-hmm. The Prepcast 6.0 development was $500,000 US.
Wow.
Yeah. So this is not a cheap endeavor, and we are trying to keep our prices reasonable, and at the same time we're also trying to help our students. And if you are in this transitional period, then we are quite generous, and we say, yeah, of course, you have the current version. It's not your fault that PMI is changing it. Here you go. We're updating you to the new version gladly. But we're definitely not going to go and somebody. When did you get yours, for example? Were you 4th edition?
2010. So I think it was 4th edition. Yeah.
Yeah, 3rd or 4th edition. Yeah. So if you would come to us, well, in your particular case, you're an affiliate of our products, and so as an affiliate, you receive a complimentary copy. But if you were, and I'm putting this into air quotes here, if you were a regular student mm-hmm. who would just come to me and say, "Hey, I have the 4th edition. Give me free access to the 6th edition," I would say, no, not really.
Right. Yeah. I think people are used to getting these apps on the App Store and they get free upgrades all the time. But, that's not how it used to be. Remember, you had to buy Windows, and every time Windows would come up with a new version, you had to go and spend $500. And it's how, it takes, as you said, it takes money to maintain and to make things better. And, if you buy, just make sure that you take advantage of it right away and pass the exam, And,
yes. What do they say? Project managers are proactive.
That's right. I was trying to think of a joke because that's obviously there's some, if this was a real life case of managing a project, you'd probably be failing.
And, just to be clear, this is not something that happens on a daily basis, right? Most project managers, they understand that. I mean, we all lead projects, right? And so you can imagine, wow, this looks like a massive project to update this, a lot of effort, and we have about 14, 15 people who work on this project, right? For half a year, 3/4 of a year. There's a huge investment. And as a project manager, you understand that. And, most project managers, they are understanding. And, the more understanding you are, and the nicer you are, and the lovelier your email and you ask, the more open we are to listening and finding a way together. We do have an upgrade process where you pay a smaller fee, and you get an upgrade for a reduced cost, or we even offer scholarships via the Project Management Institute's Educational Foundation. Fantastic. So we have about 450 licenses that the Project Management Institute is giving out every year. So if you are thinking of becoming PMP certified, but you are just simply in a situation where you cannot afford all these training materials, and then you can go to the PMIEF website. That's pmief.org, and look around, and you will find many academic scholarships that you can apply for. Amongst them is ours from OSP International, where you can get a scholarship either for the PMP exam, the PMI ACP exam, or the CAPM exam, and it includes both the training as well as access to the simulator. And if you have already passed your exam and you're still listening, you can also get a PDU scholarship to renew your certification. So take a look at pmief.org.
Okay. I'm going to add a link to that, to today's episode show notes, and it's pmforthemasses.com/122 for episode 122, 122. pmforthemasses.com/122. And I believe that there is also I might have a discount coupon for October and November 2019, which I will add to that address as well. So you have to go visit pmforthemasses.com/122. And the link to the PM Prepcast, Cornelius, if people want to go check it out directly.
Right. So if you want to go and take a look at the PM Prepcast, why don't you go to pmforthemasses.com/Prepcast. So pmforthemasses.com/PREPCAST.
Great. And just for transparency's sake, as Cornelius said, I am an affiliate of the Prepcast. And if you go to that URL, pmforthemasses.com/Prepcast, and you end up purchasing the Prepcast, I will receive commission.
And yes, then Cesar will receive $1 million.
$1 million. and here's a little bit of a trivia for people who are listening and a fan of the podcast. I took the Prepcast. This is before I was podcasting, and I'm not just saying this, okay? This is the honest truth. I was so impressed with this product that I started sharing on LinkedIn with my friends, right? And then I even created a little website to share my experience with project management and the Prepcast and the PMP exam, and I called it pmforthemasses.com. And in the middle of that, I got an email from you asking if I would like to be an affiliate, and I thought, gee, I'm already sharing this with everybody. Might as well try to, make a commission. and that's when my little blog became a podcast. So you were like instrumental, and the Prepcast was instrumental to making this show what it is today. So thank you.
I had no idea.
Yeah. So there you go. You can go to the Wayback Machine, archive.org, and you can look at...
Yeah. I use that often to... what was my website look again back then?
Yeah. You can go to pmforthemasses.com. If you check it, what it looked like in, I think, 2012, 2011, you'll see it was very different. There was no podcast. It was just a little blog.
And I still had hair back then.
Yeah, times go by, and it's crazy to think that just my PMP exam was almost 10 years ago. That doesn't compute. All right, so pmforthemasses.com/122. We're gonna find links to all this, including a special discount coupon code for October, November. For the PM Prepcast. I believe it might be for the Prepcast. It might be for some, maybe for the exam. You're gonna have to go to the link to check it out. Again, pmforthemasses.com/122. Cornelius, if people want to learn more about you and what you are doing, and besides the Prepcast, is there another place where they can go and check you out?
Yes, I would suggest that the best place to start is actually my free podcast. If you are not even thinking about getting the PMP exam, then the podcast is really the best place to start. Or if you are a project manager, or if you are certified rather, and you're looking for free PDUs, then the podcast is the right place to start. So either just go to your favorite search engine and search for the Project Management Podcast, or simply go to pm-podcast.com. Or is it a hyphen? PM-podcast? I don't know. They look the same. You know which button to press on the keyboard. So pm-podcast.com will take you to the projectmanagementpodcast.com. And pretty much, let's see, we have about 450 episodes there, and probably about 350 or so are free to listen to for the world.
Amazing. And one thing I forgot to ask, do you know how many people have taken the PM Prepcast and passed the PMP exam? Do you have that
No,
data?
because PMI does not reveal any statistics like that. Okay, so I could probably, I don't even know how many people have taken it. At last, I think it was somewhere around 50,000. That's the last number that I have in my head. But that was a while ago. So it might be more between 55 and 60,000 who have done it that way. But beyond that, we really don't know, because, I cannot require my students to go take the exam. Yeah. Some just use the Prepcast as a, general project management training. Others use it because it is also valid for PDU. So once you are certified, you need to renew your certification, and listening to the new version of the Prepcast gives you PDUs. So that helps you. And the others, maybe they have taken the exam, maybe they have passed the exam, maybe they have failed the exam. I don't know. And PMI won't say.
Well, but 50,000 plus folks take have purchased. That's a truly impressive number, and I'm sure
it still blows my mind.
Yeah, it is. It is likely it's not just a blip on the PMI's. I'm sure the percentage of people who have passed the exam, who have taken either taken the Prepcast or subscribed to your podcast. It's probably a large percentage of folks. So again, it's if you're thinking of preparing for these exams, don't search no further. Just try the Prepcast, and it's there is an answer. And just do that. So Cornelius, thank you so much again for coming onto the show and spending your time here with us. And I really appreciate you, being a friend, if we're podcasters together and we're in this industry, and I really appreciate having you in our community.
Thank you for the opportunity, Cesar.
Thank you for listening to the PM for the Masses podcast.
Tune in next week for more great ideas on how to manage your projects better and truly stand out in your industry.
PMforthemasses.com